they pretty much have all the top fighters in the world right now, with the exception of, you have Ben Askren at 1, you have Phil Davis at Bellator. There's guys scattered out there that have very good records. Will Brooks just left Bellator and signed with UFC. Mm-hmm. He was another guy.
These mean nothing. The names mean nothing to me.
They're not going to.
Okay, but that's my point. How are they going to start to mean something
Watch
to the
fucking TV?
I don't ask these questions during NBA happy time.
I mean,
next week, UFC, Ken Shamrock versus Dan Severn, Chuck Liddell versus Tank Abbott, George St. Pierre versus Wanderlei Silva.
Now, 3 of those names I know.
Brock Lesnar versus the fucking Big Show. I don't know, but I know I can throw out every name, and most of those guys last. Oh, and I forgot the guy that used to be married to Jonah Jameson,
Tito Ortiz.
Tito Ortiz fights Jesus Christ in a cage match to the death.
Yeah.
So
fuck, I don't know.
That's the thing though. They are, they're on Fox. They're on Fox, like not Fox Sports 1 where they are sometimes, but they have cards on Fox every quarter to where that's seeing eye. People are seeing those cards.
But I think you're in a catch-22 just from what it sounds to me. To get me interested, I need more product. But you're making a very good point.
Too much product.
You're making a very good point, T.O., that the diluted product is not going to satisfy the existing fans, and it isn't going to do that much to convince new fans to come on board.
If it's not quality.
If they start getting some pretty uniforms you can wear. Some nice.
Can we talk about you?
So Lesnar, by the way, did we talk about this? That Lesnar is wearing like the ultimate heel move. He's wearing the Canadian uniform.
Yeah, he's wearing all Canadian.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. All Canadian.
All Canadian all the time.
By Reebok.
No, you're right though. These guys obviously have a plan with what they want to do with the brand. They have their ideas. They're not dumb guys.
I think as long as you have guys punching each other in the face and rolling around on the ground, and that's what people want to see, they'll be happy.
It's they are in Europe. They're in Latin America. They're in South America. I mean, the sport's grown quite a bit, and that's why it went from a $2 million sale price to $4.2 million.
Billion.
Billion. Yeah, I'm sorry. That's why it's
$4 billion.
Think about the return on that. I mean, what I love a couple of examples of businesses that have grown in 15 years like that.
Maybe Standard Oil in the 1800s.
It's
that
fast?
That remarkable.
And it really is. Question: what do you do? What do you do to improve the sport? What would you do?
.coms grow that big.
What would you do to? What would you do to? Yeah. What would you do to improve UFC?
Nothing. I'd sell and make somebody else figure out how to improve it.
Mission accomplished. Then.
So you think they hit a roadblock and sold it?
Oh no! I mean, there's a lot of fighters that are wanting a union. These guys don't have health insurance.
Oh, I better hope that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things right now that are on the horizon within the next 5 to 10 years as the sport grows that they're not going to be able to get out of. Some of these guys that are getting big enough. Example was Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. Like they talked about doing this. That McGregor was locked down to this contract, but let's say McGregor he had one fight left. He'd be free to go do this, and he would not need the UFC. There's some of these guys that if things bounce the right way, they're big enough names now, they can promote their own fight to where,
It's like the GM always says here, the 1880s soccer reference. Have you heard him talk about that? And I can't believe you guys never heard this speech. In England in the 1880s-ish or whatever it was, the soccer teams, it was all owned by the people who owned the field. They owned everything. But eventually they found out that people weren't coming to see the field, they were coming to see the players. So the players are like, screw this, we're going to start our own thing. As soon as they found out they had the power, it went to them.
Well, and that's the thing, you start out doing your career, and you're lucky to make $500 on your fight. So these guys have always been
free beer.
All these guys have been happy with when they you go from making $500 a fight to $5,000 and $5,000. That's a big deal to some of these guys that don't have any alternative. It's not like they're leaving. Some of them do, but it's not.
It's similar to WWE in that it's a monopoly. They have, if you want to go make money in one spot, I mean, you can make money other places, but you're never going to do it.
And you don't have the platform to do it.
Exactly.
What does undercard in boxing make?
Those guys make
jack
shit.
Those guys.
So
they probably make more than UFC fighters.
Those guys do.
Yes.
And I mean,
but the fighter himself doesn't see.
The fighter gets more though. the fighter.
But look at all the people they have to pay.
Same
But
thing with
the Ali Act.
Look at Buster Douglas's.
trainers and
So, Corey, let me ask you this, because I know you don't know this, and I do. What percent of revenue from an event, let's say pay-per-view
UFC?
buys, yes, pay-per-view buys, the gate, how much of that money do you think goes back to the fighters?
I would guess 0.
Well, no, they have to pay your fighters.
Well, I figured they had a set number, and then
I know, but
UFC
out of that,
takes in
though,
all
what do you
money.
think goes
if
to
you were to
the
average
fighters?
that as a percentage,
I got to say less than
5.
5.
It's between 8 and 15%.
Jesus.
Boxing is 50,
Wow.
around 50-50 with the promoter right now.
Keep this in mind, and the NFL redistributes about 65% of the revenues to the players. That is a 40% margin in labor that they enjoy over the NFL.
So the other
Holy
the other
smoke.
thing is,
no wonder they sold for $4.2
no
billion.
shit, man.
a lot of
Money's
the a lot of the fighters,
indentured servants.
a lot of the fighter stuff's becoming public. So like when you fight in certain states, they can release what the fighter's being paid. So a lot of, this was a big thing back in wrestling back in the day. The boys kept their mouth shut. That's what the term was, the boys.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't talk about what they made and what they brought in from this and that. And
Yeah, the
it was
click changed.
Man,
it was
Maintain
Scott
kayfabe.
Hall, Kevin Nash,
X-Pac.
Shawn Michaels and Sean Waltman that
And Hunter.
started talking about this, and they changed that.
JP.
So the biggest example, Dan Henderson, who's way past the prime of his career, makes $800,000 in his last fight.
Isn't that crazy? He's not even a name anymore.
$800,000, and you have Donald Cerrone, who fought Saturday night, who's fought more fights than anyone in UFC history, or something like
Between
that.
And people
WEC
know these
and-
guys?
But he's a big name in the sport. Yeah,
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
he has a Budweiser sponsorship. I mean, like the guys. It's just like surfers. Though.
crazy.
There's surfers that have huge sponsors that we wouldn't know. I mean, it just depends
To
if you pay
who
attention
it
and who
appeals
does.
to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I get it.
he
It's like
makes
some podcasts get
he makes
sponsorships.
yeah,
Boom.
bam.
Nailed it.
But he comes out after his last fight and he's like, obviously UFC doesn't appreciate me from what I'm getting
That was
paid compared
hilarious,
to.
man.
Well, I think they appreciate him
It
a
was at their
lot. They're just
presser,
taking
wasn't it?
advantage of him.
Wasn't it at their presser that he did
Yeah,
that?
right
This is
after the
great.
fight. And he won a $50,000 bonus for performance of the night, and they said, you've set the record for having the most performances of the night.
Jesus.
Congratulations on the thing. He goes, well,
That's nice.
That's nice, but it's not as nice as what these other guys are making. That he's better than in his, so
Ooh.
it's going to happen, and I think the UFC sees it coming, and that's another reason Zuffa sold. And I
What
say
he doesn't
UFC, I mean
understand is
Zuffa.
the UFC pay-per-view model is exactly the same as WWF.
And that's what
It's
it is.
not the boxing pay-per-view model.
And the whole business, the
In terms
whole
of
UFC,
it's once a month on a Sunday.
Well, no,
Not even- no.
In terms of like how you
the
sell it,
business model.
like you sell the people that are like the stories. It's not the same.
Okay, I will say this. I've watched the stories by being at TOs, and I watch how the lead into the pay-per-view. If Vince McMahon had UFC, that would be 1,000 times more interesting. So I know you
I
guys
agree.
think Dana White is great at what he does.
Yeah.
I think Vince McMahon is
That's
better.
That's who they modeled. They
promoter.
modeled everything after
That's-
that.
they modeled it
Okay,
all
but they're not
WWF.
executing it because they're not
Well, they're not
reaching
the
me.
WWE.
But
See, the WWE storylines I'm even
they
familiar
don't have
with, and I
storylines.
don't watch
though.
it.
Not.
There's not storylines.
Yes, they do.
no.
Every sport has storylines.
They're not the over-the-top fucking.
That
you
doesn't-
stole my manager.
Tio,
shit.
that doesn't matter.
Well,
Every
actually, think of
sport
Ronda
has
Rousey
storylines.
And what's his name? Brown.
Travis Brown. But
That's kind of one of those.
well,
Things.
the only thing is that
You stole my wife.
there's no female fighter that's going to fight Ronda Rousey.
Over that.
There's not that.
Tio, we spent the first half of this podcast talking about a storyline
I
in the
know.
NBA Finals. That's the storyline. Whether it's manufactured or not is irrelevant. It's absolutely irrelevant whether it's manufactured
Do you
or not.
know Vince McMahon? Do
Personally.
you know what he would try to do for storylines for the UFC?
I'm not. It doesn't matter what he would try to do. It
And
would
I
matter
know what
what
you're-
he promotes.
He'd be
I
so
know what-
involved with every storyline. Can you imagine?
Well,
Yeah,
anymore,
this is a
and
Kiss
this is-
my ass match.
But he wouldn't have told Conor McGregor to go screw himself. He would have played it up. He would have played ball with
Now,
him.
and listen, I am not saying Vince McMahon now. I am saying Vince McMahon 15, 20 years ago.
Which would
it
be
is
even
not
more
the
over the
same,
top.
Yes. But I'm saying is that he promotes, he would find one guy and make him the biggest fucking star
That's
would
right.
ever
The
have.
because you sell personality
do
at
that,
the
though.
end
You
of the
can't
day.
do that in this sport, and that's
Well, then
the
you can't sell
problem.
the sport. Then that's what you're telling me.
That's what I was talking about.
Injuries
It's
are
been
gonna
weeks
plague
ago.
We've talked about this though. We've had this
Injuries,
conversation
people
on the show.
losing when you lose, that like kills you.
Yes, you can't send a person out there and just have them be this giant ass kicker.
What do you want to feed them people and then become like nobody believes the sport's real?
And that's the only thing you could do is feed them people and build up the star.
I'm not buying pay-per-view.
That's why you build the
problem,
other guy. They don't build another guy to get him to the big guy. Then it's like, oh, well, fuck.
But the problem is, in the sport, you can't just say, oh, this guy's shit happens. I mean, like, they did not expect in a million years that Ronda Rousey would lose to Holly Holm.
Oh, I know.
They did not expect for anything that Conor McGregor was going to go out and lose.
How long has it been since the Holm-Rousey fight?
It was
4 months.
Oh, it's been more than that. Wasn't it like September or August? I mean, it was towards the end of last year.
See, I was feeling like it was February. Now I think it was like back.
Oh no, it wasn't this year. It was in 15.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Wow. She hasn't fought in that long.
The first fight of the year was Lawler Condit, so it was in November or December.
15th.
Yeah, November
15th. Good call, man.
Wow.
So you build these guys up, and this was the UFC's whole model. They were getting McGregor and they were getting Rousey for UFC 200, to where they had their two biggest stars fighting on this card, and they both lost.
And they blew it.
Yes, they both lost.
I mean,
but they were doing what you did. You know, Diaz was a 500 fighter at 170.
That's crazy.
So, you know, Diaz was that guy.
But look at how the NFL sells their personalities.
They don't.
They don't. They sell those guys. It's like the WWE. Everybody's a superstar now. You've got one big one, and then you've got everybody else bats 500.
They sold Peyton Manning.
They sell Manning. I mean, Brady's not out there as much as you think he would be. But J.J. Watt's out there more than Brady.
No shit.
But that you know, they don't want those guys to have individual personalities. They want to sell team jerseys.
They have helmets on. You sell jersey.
That's why there's no individual celebration. They prevent that shit from happening in the NFL.
You become a star on your own in the NFL.
You have to.
Well, if that's what's going to happen for the UFC, that's a hard uphill climb then.
Just like
well, because it should be on the fighter also. The fighter should have to make himself.
Yes,
I agree totally.
Yes,
I mean,
you are
shit.
right. You're
the one out there putting your body on the line. You're going to sell your fucking self.
And all props to Muhammad Ali for figuring this out better than anyone when he did.
And I mean, everybody wants to say that Floyd Mayweather is this idiot. Floyd Mayweather had the smartest people around him because, you know, Floyd Mayweather fought 40 fights. Or how many ever fights before the persona Money Mayweather came out, and that's when he started getting paid. And he became the most paid athlete for the last how many ever years that he fought. And it's because he played a villain.
Yep.
And people didn't pay to watch him fight.
He kind of is a villain.
Yeah, but that's the thing. People paid to watch him lose, and he never did. And they never put him in a position.
It wasn't hard for him to play that.
Not a hard sell.
Okay, so should fighters in the UFC basically go to Hollywood, and not for scripts, but for representation from like
they
an
do.
agency.
These guys are represented by huge firms. I mean, like, I don't think you realize how big some of these guys. I mean, like, you don't.
But in the regular course of walking through life, I'm not hearing the names. It comes back to the mom test. You know it's big when your mother knows who it is.
Is your mom ever going to know about cage fighting, though? I mean, if
it gets to a certain point, yes, because she won't be able to escape it on her news outlets.
I mean, Chuck Liddell was there at a point. He had crossed.
He was really close.
Movies and TVs,
I would say he was really close.
And then he got beat his next fight. I mean, you know, you have these guys. John Jones, a perfect example of a guy that could play the heel.
I still have a hard time reconciling how punishing a loss is in this sport.
And Ronda Rousey, I mean, to your Ronda Rousey, everybody knows her name. She's crossed over.
My mom might know that name.
She's in big movies. Mm-hmm. She's in commercials. She's done it. You know, GSP before he retired, he was
German short-haired pointer.
Yeah, he was in the national campaign for Under Armour. I mean, like, he was a big.
That's good. Okay.
So it is happening. But John Jones could play the heel. You know, he got in a car wreck. He hit a pregnant lady and fled the scene.
Not good for business.
Came running back down, grabbed a stack of money, and ran off again.
Oh, you'll have that. Not good
he
for
got
business.
pulled over the other night and called. I mean, that was a few months ago, but called the ref a pig. Or the cop a pig, not the ref. I'm sorry.
That's not good for business either. Not in this country.
He failed a drug test after his last total defense for cocaine. So I mean, this guy could really heal it up. They could really turn this guy into.
You should go Razor Ramon.
But they
let's try to play that out.
But the UFC wants him. You know, he needs to go to sensitivity training, and he needs to do this, and like he could play the asshole, and people would pay to watch him lose. And maybe that's what'll happen. Maybe they'll let some of these guys go in for business for themselves, play their personalities out, and maybe that's how they get over. To your point,
Yeah,
and that's the big issue.
I think that's what it's going to. If we're talking about real growth, because you've got
$2 million to $4.2 billion is real growth.
that is real growth, but to grow it from that $4.2 billion level, whew, that's going to be a challenge.
Just don't know if that's yeah, man, that's tough. Butch.
Hey, Amazon folks, give us some love. It's very simple. What you do is you go to notsofastpodcast.com. You click on our Amazon banner.
Yeah.
You take a little shopping trip. And when you do it, we get a little credit for whatever you buy, and it helps.
If you can't see the Amazon banner, by the way, turn off your ad blockers.
Please.
Yeah.
We don't flood you with ads.
Disable it for our site.
We promise you. We do not notsofastpodcast.com or any lineupmedia.fm podcast is not clickbait. Trust us on this one. Stand on us. It's not clickbait.
We are clickbait.
You've lost me. I'm not trusting you now.
No, we're not. We're not clickbait. We're going to
we have
shoot
somebody else
one
tell
or
us
two
this?
ads.
Listen up.
Tell me to go.
What?
I'm kidding.
No, I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was joking.
And go shopping at Amazon. It's very simple. Click the banner right through, and we'll get the credit.
I cannot wait for the second part of this episode.
Here's what's coming up. Just in no particular order. Jake
Or
Roberts,
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Internet Wrestling.
The internet wrestling community, the IWC.
Oh, wait. No, you can't talk about those two before Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that's true.
I said no particular order.
Oh, okay. Whew. I
The
thought you guys
Battle
bastard.
of the Bastards. Bastard.
That was mean.
So,
He didn't catch it. He didn't catch it.
What else do we have?
And OJ Made in America.
Yeah.
Television ain't ever
Made in Florida.
been so good.
Orange juice.
Holy smoke.
Holy smokes.
You wait till you see part 4 of that. When they describe part 4 or part 3. When the lawyer, I can't remember what his name is. They had Clark Darden and the other guy, bald head with a beard.
Bill
How
Hodgson?
Yes. How he describes how OJ killed her and Ronald Goldman. Holy shit.
Yeah, I know.
Horrifying.
You see it?
See that?
I watched I
I'll
watched
see
the conclusion last night, and
Oh, and he got set up. Ooh.
I have gone
OJ
back.
did?
He got played like a fiddle.
So he didn't kill him.
No.
I know. I'm kidding.
But he literally got played like a fiddle. And
Dude.
some of the characters at the end of this thing.
Oh, when they robbed the thing.
T.O. These are the most reprehensible, low-life scumbag. Just.
In the memorabilia industry, huh?
Oh, yeah. Imagine that. All right. Hey, check us out. Our Twitter account at Not So Fast Show. Follow us there at Not So Fast Show. Facebook, we're on Facebook.com/Not So Fast Show. And subscribe, folks. Go to iTunes, to Stitcher, or any major podcast outlet, and click subscribe. And please, while you're there, leave us a 5-star review. So all those topics and more coming up on part 2 of this week's edition of Not So Fast.
That was good.
I was looking to get that.